Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I am with Liz Trotter and our special guests today. We've got two guests. We've got Jonathan and Riley Pototschnik. And this is
Hello.
Smart Business Moves. Hey, guys.
Good
Hey,
to see
y'all.
everybody.
Hey,
We're starting the week off in a big way here. This is the last show of September, or not September, August, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
We're almost in September.
Well, it's funny because we have a father-son team today, and today is my son's birthday as well. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, it's very much a father-son,
That's cool.
mother-son day today. Yeah.
That's awesome. How old's your
And
son?
he's 25.
25. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, had you asked me yesterday, I would have been like, no. But I'm a good mom, and I figured it out just in the nick of time.
Just in time.
Yeah. Well,
That's great.
you guys know today we are, let me switch over to comments over here. Okay. This is our last episode on leadership this month. And I wanted to bring you guys on. For those that don't know, Riley, I'm like, do you work for me, Riley, or do I work for you? We kind of go back and forth a little bit, right?
yeah, works both ways.
It does. So Riley works for me, but I pretty much have to do whatever he says to be able to get decent outcomes. So we kind of work for each other. And Riley is Jonathan's son.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring them on because, well, everybody knows well, maybe everybody doesn't know Jonathan. I feel like everybody knows Jonathan. Such a big name and such a big personality. I can't imagine that people don't know you. But for those that don't, maybe Jonathan, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get to Riley a little bit too.
Okay. So Jonathan Pototschnik, Riley's dad, very proud of Riley, proud dad. My background is in software and in the service industry. So I actually a long time ago was in the cleaning industry for many years in the commercial space, focused on theaters. And I have a lawn care company, irrigation pest control company in the Dallas market called City Turf. And then I have a business by the name of ServiceAutopilot, and that's how most people know me. And along the way, I've done a number of different things, other software businesses that I didn't mention that list, and just a variety of things. But I've spent a tremendous amount of my time in the services space, specifically residential home services. That's what I'm really passionate about. And to this day, I remain very passionate about that specific space. And so I spend my time predominantly on the ServiceAutopilot business, but I also I just do a lot of things. So that's the best way I know to describe it. I do a lot of different stuff, and I have a lot of different interests, and they all in some way relate back to home services. That's, like, as I've said a couple of times, that's the thing I most love. So less about commercial, more about residential and serving the homeowner.
Well, Tom, I'm going to let you speak to that because I know that you are also a Jonathan fan.
Well, in some regards, you're my role model on the software side. You know, you've set the bar really high, and you guys have an awesome product. And you know, we've been in the software development business for 25 years, but only recently started offering it to other companies. And you guys do a lot of great work. And I think that we have some things in common just in terms of trying to professionalize, home services industries. We kind of special just in house cleaning. We kind of stick to that. But I know that you do a lot of work like training, consulting. You do a lot of work to beyond just the software to help home service providers build their businesses and get better outcomes.
Yep. And that very much came out just passion for the industry. And then just like you, I'm sure you really come to greatly appreciate your members. So we call our clients members in the ServiceAutopilot world, and you get to know them as people, and you care about how their businesses go and their families go. And that's how I ended up doing the what you call the consulting, or we call it ServiceAutopilot Academy. That's how I ended up doing that. It was just something I was super passionate about. So yeah, I agree. We share a lot of similarities.
And Liz, you spend more of your time doing coaching, I guess, than just about anything else right now, don't you?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I spend my life too. Yeah. Because
get
it
that.
does take up a lot of your time, right?
Yep, it does. That's actually the thing I probably spend the most time on, frankly, if you boil it down, because at all my other businesses, I have individuals that run those businesses, leadership teams, and when it comes to the coaching, and in our case, again, academy, it's much more difficult to just build that up and hand it off to somebody else. Also, it's a passion thing for me, and so that very much takes my time. I am very, very involved in that part of the business.
Well, Tom, maybe you could throw up a link to the Service Autopilot Academy. Would be helpful for people that don't know about it, haven't heard about it, or have and want to connect up. So that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've gone over, even though I don't use Service Autopilot, I'm using Made Central. I know a ton of people that use Service Autopilot and love it. And so I've looked at the Service Autopilot Academy. I just saw that y'all have moved your big event this year to next year.
Yes, that was a tough decision.
I bet.
And you've probably heard the same thing. It's just a story of, well, we had a small academy event and a whole bunch of us got COVID, and vaccinated or not. And then we know of a number of other friends in the industry that have come back from events and are reporting the same stories. And we just felt maybe it was best to postpone again. That was a tough decision because, as you probably know, events are where you really get to know your clients and your members and develop those relationships. And they're just so good. In our case, they're so good for us and the member, and they're so good for our team to even get to go to these events. So it was not an easy decision.
Yeah, I bet. And you're right. People are kind of desperate for those events right now too. And they really they're needing that connection. So I'm sure that must have just been really, really difficult.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
Liz and I have an event, I guess, first week in October that was originally scheduled, a year and a half ago. And we've postponed it. We've postponed it twice because of COVID. Yeah. So this is like our third time up. And I guess we've been having discussions trying to figure out, what's the most responsible thing for us to do there.
We're going week by week.
It's almost like flip a coin and just, it was such a difficult, our event is quite sizable and we've never ran it as a profit center. So we in fact have never made a profit on the event ever. And probably, I don't know how to make a profit on it apparently. And so it's one of those things that, and I don't know how it is with your event, but you also could find yourself in a very, very, very bad financial position if right before the event, you're refunding 30% of your tickets because there's so much hard cost involved. And so that was one of the factors. But at the end of the day, it was like we were a little worried about bringing everybody together because we didn't want to have an event and then send everybody home with COVID and that be the story of the event. So I was like, how do you make the decision? So I feel for both of you. I don't have the faintest idea how to advise you or what to recommend. We just said, you know what, we're gonna call it because we know a lot of other people doing it.
Yeah, it's not easy, but great thing to be talking about here during this leadership topic too. That is one of the things that you have to do. You have to be willing to make the hard call, whichever way it goes. And neither call is easy.
No, it's not. And I will say the one nice thing about the type of client or member that we cater to, they've had to continue to run their organizations. They've had to continue to be out in the real world. I don't know how, Tom, it's been in your software company, but at Service Autopilot, we closed the business in March of 20. We opened it back up in June, but nobody goes to the office anymore. And we've got an Atlanta office and a Dallas office, and nobody really goes other than some of the sales team. And so that's, we couldn't really look at this from a Service Autopilot perspective because it's a different world. In my City Turf business and your clients' businesses, they're still out serving the clients. So are they less concerned? Where I'm going with all this is, are they far less concerned about coming to an event? That was also what was so difficult about making the decision. If you're trying to get a bunch of software companies to come to an event, they may be a little more scared because they've been staying home. But in our world, our members, our clients have all been working. They had to work. And so that too didn't make it any easier because there's, on one hand, you feel like, okay, I could still get pretty good attendance here.
Yeah, I can tell you. And we still run our own house cleaning business, Castle Keepers. And most of, if not almost all, probably all of the people who've signed up for our events, well, maybe not all, but the lion's share of them for sure are kind of like, COVID, what COVID? Let's do this thing. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We have a lot of
So,
people like that.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I
Well,
believe as well. So.
I also wanted to talk a little bit to Riley. And Riley, we are going to kind of tie you guys together a little bit. But Riley, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do, how you got into it, and anything else that you think would be interesting?
Sure. So I own a web design company called Rocket Thruster. And basically, I am working with a lot of small service businesses to help improve their website and really just make their website better from a performance standpoint. I, of course, do all the design and building, but the main focus is to help them identify what they can be doing to their website to just make it generate the results that they're looking for. So a lot of lead generation. How do we make sure that as we design their website, we're putting their visitor in a position to feel comfortable and confident in choosing them as their, say, house cleaning company. We want to make them comfortable in doing so, and then we want to make it easy for them to get started. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into just making a website great, but I don't necessarily need to go into the pitch for that. So I have the website design business, worked with dozens of companies there. It's been super successful, not just for growth, but also helping these businesses on the website front and making it a more usable experience and making it a key part of their sales funnel, bringing people in from Google, making it a very important part in bringing in new leads, new customers, things of that sort. And really how I got started there, before this, I had a software company and I was having trouble getting that off the ground. And frankly, I almost ran out of money. So I started the website stuff to generate a little bit of money, but it ended up working out really well. I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed helping these businesses and they were seeing great results. So that's a little bit of how I got into the website stuff. It was very much stirred up from the lack of funds for the software side, and that's paused at the moment, but it's been awesome working with a lot of different small businesses in the service industry and figuring out how I can help them the best and seeing how they can get better results from their website.
Okay, I have two really important things to say.
Sure.
And see how I jumped right in there before anybody else got a chance to say anything, right? Because I want to say my stuff. All right, I'm really blurry right now. Okay, the first thing is that I love how you just threw it out there. Hey, that business was failing and I had to do something different. How many successful people do you hear about? They had businesses fail before they ever had the business that made the money, right? So yay, I love that. That's amazing. You already got one under your belt. Look how young you are. Yay. Yeah. So that's the first. And you were able to pivot, right? And make a change. It didn't take you down. It didn't take you under. It was like, oh, I'm going to do this other thing. And then you liked it. So that was the first thing. I love that. And then the second thing, I never hear you mention this, Riley, anytime that you talk about what you do. And I think that everybody should know this because something that you do that nobody else does anywhere near as good as you do. Actually, do you know what it is? You do something way better than everybody else. Way better.
If I had to take a stab at it, I like to pride myself on the communication, being able to get back to people quickly, and just being there to help when they need it.
Okay, you are good at that. But this thing that you do is so much better than everybody else. And I guess you don't even know what it is. So I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell everybody else. You can take a concept, just a concept, just I can throw out, hey, 3 lines to you. Hey, Riley, I need something like, I need a website and I need like a few different pages on there. And I these are the colors that I like. And I want to try and sell stuff, but I'm not sure how much or how it's going to be, but it's for small businesses. Can you get me started? And you'll throw up a website and it'll have all the text and it'll have a store and it'll have it'll be ready to go. I'll be like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Or, yeah, not that little piece on that page. You know, on page 3, page 1's good. Page 2 is good. Page 3, I'm not sure what you were talking about there. You're like, oh, okay, I'll have that fixed in 10 minutes. You basically build my website without me even knowing what it is I'm trying to do yet. So every time I go and look, I'm like, so something's wrong with this page. I'm not really sure what's wrong. I just don't like it. Well, what don't you like? Well, it doesn't seem like people are going to like understand how good this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
You'll just go in and it'll sound amazing. All right, now people want to buy it. So I don't even know what that's called. I don't know how to describe that in a better way. You need to figure that out though, because you create content. Nobody else knows how to create content.
Mm-hmm.
I can just give you an idea and you can, I don't know. It's just, Tom, what is that called? Is it just creating content?
It's the difference between design and development. There's a lot of people out there that can build something for you if you give them detailed specifications.
Yeah.
But, you know, being able to take a concept and visualize that and figure out how to design it and then develop it, that's much rarer. I mean, those folks are hard to find. Rare. You're lucky to have Riley in your camp. And just for anybody else who's thinking about building a website, I'll throw, rocketthruster.com. You can.
So he's currently working on my cleaningprofitbuilders.com website. And how many pages does that thing have now, Riley? Any idea off the top of your head? Ballpark?
12, 13 in pages. That range, yeah.
So when I talked to him about this originally, I was like, I need this little tiny website. I think it's a small project, Riley, like maybe 2-3 pages. And I just need a little bit of help. Can you help me with that? Now I've got 12 some pages. It's all branded correctly. It's not done yet. I just sent him a video on Saturday saying, hey, Riley, I need this stuff. I need that stuff. And here we are. He put all this in here. I didn't do any of this. Anything that you see that's text in there, he put in. I didn't do any of this.
This is really nice. I might have to sign up for something. This is
So you need a good way to talk about that, Riley, so that people understand what a huge differentiator that is, because it really is. It is. There are a lot of people like me in this space, entrepreneurs, that I don't want to spend an hour and a half writing every single thing that has to be on my website and then giving it to you and then having you just copy it and paste it. I don't want to do that. I don't know the right words. I don't know what needs to be tagged. I don't know any of that. And either does anybody else. Because when I've tried to work with other people, they couldn't do it either.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I would not have pegged that benefit in what I'm doing. Because in some cases, what I'm doing is just designing websites for people, and it just becomes part of what I do. So I would not have pegged that as maybe one of the key benefits as to how I can help people. And I'm glad you said that.
Yes. And you write very well. You don't have we seldom have typos. Everybody has typos, right? But you always catch your typos too. So that's everything is grammatically correct. I don't have to fix any of that stuff, which drives
Riley,
me crazy.
Does Liz point out too when you spell something wrong?
Yeah, she'll catch it pretty quick. Yeah,
she does. I mean, she wears me out. I mean, I'm not gifted in that way. You know, Liz was the state spelling bee champion. Was it in Michigan?
Michigan, yeah. When I was
Liz?
No. It was the Michigan State in elementary school, y'all. I was 11.
That's okay. Well, but you still have a gift, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like to spell. Okay, yeah, this is like the great talent, right? Awesome. Anyway, I did just want to point that little thing out there, Riley, because you don't know how good you are, and it's really hard to find. Okay, so make sure you know about that.
Yes.
But I did want to talk about like the two of you guys together. I kind of wanted to get a little bit, so people have heard me say this all the time. One of the books that I recommend is How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, and How to Listen So, or How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, and How to Listen So Kids Will Talk. Because working with employees is a lot like working with children. You got to make them feel like they're valued. You got to make them see the bigger picture, right? Especially if you're trying to give your children values and have them grow up in a certain way and fit into your culture of your family. You've got to create that. You know, they're not just automatically going to be fitting in. And so in my mind, you've done that perfectly with your employee, Riley, Jonathan.
I wish I could make him an employee. I could use it.
I bet you do. So I was thinking, you got that right, Liz. Yep, I know, Martha. She knows all about this too. Anytime you're talking about employee engagement, you can use so many of the parenting strategies that you know that work really well. So I was wondering, Jonathan, when you were raising Riley, was it your plan to sort of raise him up as an entrepreneur, or did you just get lucky with him, or did you use any strategies in your parenting that you can see? I also use a lot of those strategies in my leadership.
I don't know. When it comes to the parenting thing, I've definitely thought a lot about trying to be a good parent. Tiffany has as well, my wife Tiffany. So we've definitely made an attempt at it, but it's really hard to crystallize, any specific thing you did. So I would say that my general belief in life and business is you are the example. That to me is the top level of everything. So you can say whatever you want to say, but if you don't live it and they don't see you live it, then it's meaningless language. And that's true inside an organization, and it's true inside a family. And so when we talk about the entrepreneurship, one thing I have always felt strongly about, and it's pretty obvious which direction Riley's going. I don't know which direction Gage, my younger son's, going just yet, but I have never wanted to turn them into any version of me or try to cast them or push them in any direction where they're going to do something in life to make money, and that's the focus. I mean, I'd love them to make money. That's great. But I want them to do the thing in life that just makes them really happy and proud of themselves and proud of their accomplishments. And so it didn't have to be business, but I am a hardcore passionate person about entrepreneurship because I think it molds business owners into a different kind of person and can turn them into a really good person in a lot of different ways. So I definitely would love that for the boys. And so where I started this was the example. I think that would be probably what I would say is they have grown up around this. They've seen it. I've always talked about business. I've talked about money in our house. I don't hide stuff from them. They hear the good, the bad, the conversations. They hear the whole thing. They hear about what's going on at work. And so I would say that I've tried to be a good example, and they've seen, Riley's been around 19 years. He's seen me travel a lot. He's seen me be very busy. He's seen me be less busy. He's seen our financial situations evolve over time. He's seen us be very conservative with money. I've talked to them about investing since they were young guys. I don't feel like I'm directly answering your question. It's been more of just lots of conversations where it hasn't been me preaching at them. I've just tried to live it and involve them in what business is for our family and what business could be for them.
I think you're directly answering my question. I think you are literally giving people the answer to how to engage your employees. Don't preach at them. Talk with them. Show them what you do. Show them how it works. Be passionate about what you care about. That passionate is catchy, I'm guessing. Yeah, Riley?
Yeah.
You see your dad be passionate? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And act in the ways that matter to you and make all of it seem okay. There is not another 19-year-old person, I think, that's going to jump on a Facebook Live and say in front of who knows how many people he doesn't know that, yeah, I had a business and it was kind of failing. Somehow you made that okay. You made it okay to be failing. And that is an amazing thing to do for your people, your kids, anybody.
Yeah.
And let's just move forward from that. So
failing is an opportunity to improve, get better. I mean,
Yep.
I'm sure that, Riley, you've picked this up from your father, that, success is kind of a day-to-day thing, and if it's not working now, try hard, maybe it'll work tomorrow. If not, you're going to try something different. Conversely, you might be very successful today, but that doesn't really guarantee, what tomorrow is going to be either. But you're 19. Wow. Is that, Liz, you share that? So I guess that to be, are you 19, Riley?
I am 19. Yep.
That is
Yeah.
crazy. So, what's so awesome about that, especially, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, is you got a lot of runway ahead of you. You can,
right.
you can afford to fail, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only I
that's
could have
right.
known the things Riley has known and been exposed to it 19 years. Frankly, it started at very young, but what he's experienced from 17, 18, 19 is he's really been working in business. Oh my goodness. What a head start in life to get to do that stuff.
Yeah. And so much more fun too.
Yeah.
You only have to get it right one time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the truth.
But you get to get it right as many times as you want too. Look at what you do, Jonathan. You have so many different businesses, so many different things that you love, and they all tie into your one big passion of home services. But you get to do a lot of different things. Riley, you're already starting on that, right? So Patricia had a question here too. Oh, hey, Trisha. I was just reading your name. I realize who you are now. Rocket Thruster. You can check him out, rocketthruster.com.
Yep.
And
I dropped the link in chat, but I'll drop it again. And
Martha's putting it up there too. Yeah.
Here's his website. We got a lot of big names here. Martha's here today. I see Mike Callahan's with us today.
Yep. Trisha's here, Rochelle. I see a lot of people that are commenting too.
Yeah.
So Riley, tell me real quick, when you think, so right now you don't currently have anybody that's working for you. Is that correct?
Nope, not yet.
You're a one-man show doing it all.
Yes.
Do you see yourself taking any of the leadership lessons that your dad has poured into you and using them with your employees, or had you even really thought about that before? Or
so generally, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, a lot of the lessons that he's learned, we've certainly talked about. But generally, the way that I find that I learn best is when it actually becomes part of what I'm doing. So when it comes time for me to hire somebody, I'm going to really start, I guess, gobbling up that information and really learning the most when I'm actually having to do it. I find that I really struggle to hold on to a lot of this information when it's not quite that time yet, unfortunately. So I haven't gotten to that point yet, but there will certainly come a time when the information that we've talked about, it's gonna become something that I need to put into play and actually utilize. So we've certainly talked about stuff, but when it comes time to start hiring people, that's when everything's gonna start piecing itself together and really work out to be something.
Well, I'm very much that same way, that I have all of this information, but I'm only really paying attention to the stuff that I'm using right now, and the rest is kind of on the back burner. So my only thing for you is don't forget that you have this wonderful role model, right? And you already kind of know the stuff. So I'm wondering, Jonathan, do you have things that because you have a lot of people that work for you, you have a lot of leaders that you have to train to be good leaders. What are some of the things that you are looking to teach them, or how do you build good leaders in your organizations? Do you do it the same way in all your organizations, or?
it's evolved. Maybe the better answer than saying I do it the same or different across organizations would be more that it's evolved over time. What I mean by that is earlier inside an organization, when you're bringing on talent and you only have so much money, you're really making a bet on an individual that you think this is the way I look at it, has quite a bit of potential, is a quality individual that's going to work really hard, that wants to grow and learn. You're really hoping to find those types of individuals, and they may not have the done it skill set yet in certain areas that you need. And so you need and want them to grow up inside the organization. And so there's an element of coaching and training, and I can come back to that. But then as the business progresses and you're moving quickly, and everything I'm involved in is bigger businesses at this point, they're all 8-figure businesses. And so it's a very different stage than it used to be. And with the speed at which the businesses are moving, we really have to more and more go get at the top level individuals that have done it. So, and I'll come back to the real question, which is the training and coaching. But what if I've learned so many things, but one thing I've really learned and internalized is there is always an individual, whether it be a consultant or a coach or a team member, that can solve whatever the problem is you're having. Whatever the question is, whatever the problem is, whatever the stress is, whatever the frustration is, doesn't matter what it is. Somebody has that skill set and can solve it. And so if you want to make life better faster, and if you want to go faster, then if you can afford it, you're best to go find somebody that has truly done it and has the experience in whatever you're trying to solve. And so that's really how I think more today than the majority of my business career. I'm trying to find somebody that I literally can just hand it to them and they can run it, almost like they're running a mini business inside my business. My conversations, if I'm getting the right person, should not be about coaching them on how to do a thing. They're more of peer conversations about, here's the strategy we're working, here are the metrics we're working towards, here are the challenges we're seeing. Can I support you in any way to solve those problems? But they kind of know what to do, and they know how to run with the ball, and they know how to figure it out. So that's in my opinion, the ultimate goal of where you're trying to get. From a coaching standpoint with younger team members, and younger meaning maybe by age or by just skill set in terms of whatever role they're moving into, I am willing to pay for them to, of course, read any book, go to events, go to conferences. I'm willing to pay for them to get training. I want them to hang around with other individuals inside my organization that can be a mentor to them. If they're coming into a role, then they need to, and they don't know exactly what to do, they need to shadow and spend time with with whomever might be their example inside the organization. And so that's been what I've done most of my career, is tried to find ways where I could work with them directly, talk to them frequently and help them, and or get them someone external to the organization to help and coach them up. That's how I've thought about it. Is that what you were asking?
Okay. Yeah.
I know I threw a lot at you.
Yes, good stuff.
Yeah, and the whole evolution, when you're a startup, when you're a small company, the idea of hiring people in various disciplines that you need to run a business who have the experience, that really know how to do that, just economically is beyond our means.
I would just add too, Tom, that not only that, I never really understood for the longest time what it meant to really go get someone that could just run it and own it. I thought I knew what that was. And I would have even said years back, I've been hiring these kinds of individuals. And then you get to the next level and you're like, wait a second, I've been hiring some great people, but there's a whole nother level. And so until you've even experienced it, you don't even know what to look for. You don't even know what this means.
So here's the risk, or the opportunity, is that you run your business the way you've been running your business, and you're growing your business in spite of the challenges, and you're basically playing the hand you're dealt, the team that you have. And I could see scenarios where you get to the point where you really could hire that next person who knows how to do it rather than who has the aptitude to figure it out, but you're not even what you're suggesting, I think, Jonathan, is you aren't even thinking that way because that's never been part of your thought process. All you know is what you've been doing in years past.
Yeah.
How do you know when you get to the point where, you know what, it's time to roll the dice and break out the checkbook and, you know, hire the person that I wouldn't have really felt that I could afford in the past, but really can do the job in a different way and take us to another level?
It's such a complicated question right there, because there's, as you know, there are just so many things that have to come together. I think what really happens is in business, most of us take those steps, at least the first step of hiring somebody like you're describing, when we reach a point of just complete exhaustion, or we're tired, or we're just so frustrated. It usually, I think, early on comes from a place, at least this is what I feel like I've seen often, that it usually comes from a place of just, I can't do this anymore. I need some help, or I need to spend the money. My family can't handle me being gone this much anymore. And that's usually what makes it happen that first time. And then sometimes you hire somebody where you're really kind of rolling the dice, you're taking a risk. Sometimes it doesn't go well. And that's not an uncommon story. I think a lot in the green industry, where I spend a lot of time, operations managers are almost the single most important hire. And I don't know who would be some of your most important hires in the residential cleaning space, but they're the ones that just orchestrate all the crews or teams and manage all of that. And sometimes that's not a massive hire financially in terms of the way I think about things now, but that is a very scary hire. If you're hiring somebody with experience, that's not necessarily an inexpensive person if you're really getting a done-it person with a lot of experience. And so that's a very, again, scary hire for many people. And sometimes it goes really well. And that gives the individual the confidence, like, oh my goodness, look at all the problems that just got solved. Look at all the things I was just able to take off my plate. And from that point forward, they have the confidence to make these types of hires. And then other times, which is so common, your first big expenditure starts to drain the bank account. And then you're scared to fire this person. They've got a family. And that makes a lot of individuals sort of clam up and say, I don't know if there are really that many good people out there that I could get. And then it almost sets them back, where they have to get to just a complete place of pain before they take that risk yet again. And so I think that, and there's so many other things we could say about your question, but I think that's what usually happens with that first hire. And for too many, it doesn't go very well. And that just slows the business down again until they're ready to take that risk.
And at that point, you're basically putting people in roles that are convenient or there or at a lower price point, or for a number of reasons. But a lot of times, I've seen the clam up thing. I've lived it. I've done it.
Mm-hmm. We all have done it.
A lot of times it's the path of least resistance, and it's hard to admit that, I just took the easy way out. But being aware that, especially today, because I know a lot of businesses who've got some PPP funds or idle loans and stuff like that, and you're going to use that money. You need to do it in terms of an investment, but it's not hard to imagine if you hire that operations manager that truly is, capable of doing things that your incumbents can't. How much better do they have to be before they've more than paid for their salary, even if their salary is higher than anything you've ever paid before?
Yeah, agreed. And I think and I didn't come up with this. I think I heard it from a fellow by the name of Dan Sullivan, who has an organization called Strategic Coach. And he calls team members investments. And the reason why I've heard it use that language, and it's stuck with me the very first time I heard it, is because we think about our P&L and we think about a team member as an expense to the organization. And that's how we think, okay, what's the cost going to be of this person? What's the labor burden going to be on this person? What are they going to cost me? They're an expense. That's where they fall in the P&L. But the reality is, every single team member, if you get the right team member, is truly an investment in the business. And one of the problems that every one of us, and I have been so guilty of this, has done, and I see it so often as a area holding back a lot of companies, is we're not moving team members off the team fast enough that shouldn't be on the team. And so I'll go back to my operate. And that sounds like a cold-hearted thing to say, but I mean, I am an incredibly loyal person and I'm very loyal to my team, but we're doing a real disservice to fellow team members and to the company itself when we carry individuals who shouldn't remain on team. And so I'll go back to my operations manager example. I've seen this so many times. You finally spend the money and they didn't live up to what you thought they were capable of doing. There's some challenges, there's some kind of problem. And so now they're just a team member that isn't really being invested in. They haven't achieved for the organization the goal of what you had in mind, and that you carry that individual. And so now you're spending a lot of money and you've got a person in the role that isn't acting like an investment. They're not making the organization better. They're not proactively figuring out ways to improve the business. Maybe their language isn't what it needs to be with their coworkers or with clients in the way in which they serve the client, and you carry them. And to me, it's one more little kind of dart or not. It's like one more little jab in a little knife in the stomach or something. It's just like, it's exhausting. It's painful. It drags the business. You're a little more exhausted about the business. It didn't make anything better. It actually made the company just a little bit worse. And you just keep piling on these decisions. And it's no wonder that so many individuals end up in a place where they're just burned out, done, unexcited about, can't find the energy for their business any longer. And so, I deviated a little bit, but the carrying the wrong team member on the team, I think, is also a major issue I've seen inside of the organizations that, it's not just the hiring, it's not just taking the risk, it's having the really difficult conversations with someone when they're no longer the right person for the team.
Yeah, you have a responsibility to everybody else that works for your company and all the clients you serve to make sure you've got the right people, especially in these leverage positions. But I've always looked at it as a humane thing to do because everybody deserves a chance to be successful as well. And just leaving them in a job because they need a paycheck isn't really doing them a favor either. Put them in a position. I mean, be humane, and there's a certain process, obviously, you need to go through. But at some point, you're doing them a favor by putting them in a position where they at least have a chance of finding that job that they could be successful at.
I 100% agree. I'll tell you, we've made mistakes over time where I think back to one of our very early team members in ServiceAutopilot. His name was Ian. This is in the very beginning of the business. And I remember John and I interviewing Ian, and we put him in a support role. He never wanted to be in a support role. He just wanted a job. But he kept telling us he doesn't really like to do support. And when we ultimately had to let Ian go, John and I are like, he told us the entire time that he didn't really want this job. He applied for it, but he didn't really want it. And then he failed in the job. We let him go. We let him go way too late. And I've done this so many times. And then we heard about Ian getting another job elsewhere. And I'm just completely confirming what you're saying, Tom. We heard about Ian getting a job somewhere else. He wasn't in support, and they loved him. He was doing phenomenal. Ian was not a bad guy. He didn't do great work in the role he was in because it sucked all the life and energy out of him. It wasn't how he was built. But you get him into his right role, he's a great guy, great team member, great whatever. He's probably doing great today. And so a lot of times when we're releasing a team member, it's like, let's help them in life get to the place where they really need to be, where they'll thrive.
And you just illustrated another point that I think is important as well. If you're the CEO of the company and you're coming to the conclusion that there's somebody in an important role that's not a good fit, guess what? You're probably the last person to figure it out. And once you make that decision and you deal with it, like half the people that report to you will come up and say, "Well, great move. What took you so long?"
Yeah.
Oh,
have I had that experience so many times. It's almost an internal joke, and especially as the business gets bigger and you have to follow all your steps of moving somebody out of the organization. It really can lengthen the amount of time. Yes, that is our internal joke that everybody's making fun of us right now while we're working this process is to get the person out of the company because everybody else knows. And that's always the experience. So it's so true.
There is one more thing about that too. Actually, there's two things about that popped into my head real quick. One is the longer you keep that person, and I've experienced this more times than I want to admit to, how many great people are leaving because of that. You're losing great people because of this one person that you're not letting go of. These other people are like, yeah, I'm done with this company that is doing this stuff. And then one other thing that you were talking about earlier, Jonathan, when we first brought up this topic, and then we got to get to Martha's question, is, at some point in time, like when you're a small company and you're bringing on people, you're the smartest person in the room. You know all of the things and you know all of the stuff. But at some point in time, you have to hire people that are smarter than you, right? Not when you're small, but at some point in time, you can't get it done. You are capped out at your level. You might have some areas that you can do better, but there need to be smarter people than you doing some of these jobs, whichever ones you're not the smartest person at. And so I think that's a real hard shift for people too, is when do I make that shift? I don't know. Just a lot of people struggle with that.
One of the things that I think about specific to that is, and we at Service Autopilot and a couple other things I do, I've really bought into this thing called Kolbe, a KOLBE, and it's without getting into the weeds, from the 4 numbers of Kolbe, I can really understand how someone's wired and and to a large degree, what will give them energy and what will suck energy out of them. And so when I think about that, and you're the owner and you are the smartest person in the room in the early days, and as quick as you can, just as you said, you really don't want to be that person, because that means you're wearing all the hats. And so the way I think, it's easy to, maybe ask me or ask you or ask Tom, hey, what should be my first hire? Who should be my third hire? Should it be an office person, ops manager? And I can rattle that off, and I could give that advice, but I really, if I can have a conversation with the person, what I really want to know is, what is it that you're showing up and doing every day that's just draining all the energy out of you? So is it doing the bookkeeping? Is it answering the phone? Is it going out meeting with clients? What is that thing? And to me, that's one of the early indicators of where you hire. Somebody like me might say, oh, you should get an operations manager. That's the most important first hire. Well, maybe, but maybe not, because in business, what we're trying to do is outrun burnout. And we all face it constantly in our businesses. And if you get to a place where you burn out, you'll never turn your company into what you originally dreamed of it being. And so how do you outrun burnout? You get the stuff off your plate that sucks all the life and energy out of you. And so maybe the common path isn't your path. Maybe it's that you just need an assistant, frankly, first. Somebody that can just do all kinds of little things for you that's a generalist. That's not the common advice, but that might be what it is for you, because you get so many things off your plate, you get re-energized, and you can be good at the operations manager role again, and then you look for the next thing that's taking all the energy from you. So that's the way I think about it oftentimes. And I think about that both from a company owner standpoint, but also as you're building your organization with your teams. How can you understand what it is that will make your team member live in a place as much as possible of getting to work in a high level of energy and do the thing that they love doing? And how can I get them to that role inside the organization and get other stuff off their plate? And so I think that's just a fundamental way to think about business that's really, really valuable.
Yeah, totally agree. And I love that term, outrun burnout. I wrote that down. I'm going to be sharing that one. That's a good Jonathan Pototschnik quote right there. I love that. I do. I love that.
Especially for very small companies, a lot of times your first hire is just get an assistant. Don't get too fancy. Just get somebody to do the stuff that you don't have time to do.
Yeah. I don't know. Even big companies, I mean, there comes a time when the number one thing you can do is have somebody doing all the other stuff. A PA is like, oh my gosh, you just like saved my life by going and running all of these crazy errands that are sucking all of the time out of my day and out of my life. So
you get big enough that you can afford it. You can buy time for sure.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So Martha did have a question for Riley about what she had a couple of them here. We missed one. Sorry.
This was the first one.
Yeah.
What are your favorite are your favorite type of projects that you've taken on at Rocket Thruster?
I think generally my favorite type of project is the one where we're kind of building something from scratch. They don't already have a website out and going. They're not just kind of pointing me to things that they want me to fix. It's kind of this co-op project where we're working together to create something that they really like. That's my favorite type of project, where we can both imagine something brand new, come up with something that they're really happy with, and not working off of something that they're kind of happy with, but it's not quite what they're looking for. Maybe they're working within a budget or something. But those types of projects where we can really both work on it together, create something they really like, and just come up with something from scratch, those are a lot of fun. I really enjoy those projects. And with that, we kind of strategize what's the most important thing to them that they want to achieve with the project. These are all questions that we get to kind of address in the project to create something that plays an important role in their business. Those types of projects are really, really fun.
Before you hit that question, Tom, speaking to what Riley's talking about right now, so you're working together with people on these brand new stuff. I'm thinking that, going along with today's topic, you do have to lead them down the right path, right? Because
Yes.
I'm sure you get people that are like, this is what I want it like this, and it's not the right answer. It's not going to work. It's not going to get them the results that they want. I know I have a tendency to want things to look good, and it needs to be, okay, it can look good, but Liz, don't forget, it has to bring you money first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, bring me money. So you do have to lead people down that path. Do you find that challenging, being only 19?
No, not exactly. And while I may be leading them down maybe the right path or some path, it's very much a conversation. In the process, we work together and come up with a design. Talking about the design process at this point, we come up with something they really like the look of, but in that, I also walk them through, okay, what are the parts of this website that we need to make sure that we have in place to actually make this a key part of the main objective, bringing their business more money. So while in some places people may want something to look really good, I kind of have to reel them back in and say, maybe we should do it this way, because this is what's going to help the people on your website. It's going to answer their questions. It's going to build that trust, and it's going to make it easy for them to get started. In many ways, those are the three things that a website really needs if it's going to perform well. You have to address the things that matter most to them, to kind of let them know, hey, you're a good quality option in, say, the house cleaning industry. So that would be one thing I guess I could lead them down the right path and help them out when it comes to building and designing websites. So
you're using your dad's strategy. You're basically talking with them and leading them toward what makes good sense and helping them to see it. So you're basically using your dad's strategy. Back to what you said, Jonathan, you're modeling it. And I can attest, I mean, it is not, I can't imagine that it is easy for somebody under their 20s to be getting somebody in their 60s to do things the right way, right? And especially business owners, because we have a tendency to want everything done our way, think that, you know, we want to do our thing, and you do that really well. So pointing out what you're doing, I think, is helpful to everybody on this call too. Look, no matter who we're talking to or about what role, it always comes down to some of those basic things, talking with people, helping them to be able to see it for themselves, the win for them, and working with them. Mm-hmm. So super good. All right, we got to get to Martha's question before she's like, Liz, come on now.
What is the biggest or most common mistake you see when you're doing a website audit?
I would say probably a lack of call to action on people's websites. Going back and focusing on the topic of making sure your website generates results. Some people have really good webs or really good looking websites, but what they lack are say, for example, some options for call to actions, phone numbers, buttons on their website. They lack these things on their website that's going to be the thing that drives them results and puts more prospects and leads in the funnel. So that would be the biggest thing. I guess to add on to that, one other thing would just be the answering people's questions. We may, in some cases, many businesses, and I was very much in this boat when I first launched my software product and I built the website for this. I talked a lot about maybe the features of the product. But what a lot of these people want to come and see is, if you're right for them, what can you do for me? And a lot of things around that subject. So if we can format the website around answering important questions, addressing concerns, maybe talking about some pain points that they may have that would get them out of their chair to take action, that's going to be another really important part of the website. It's going to get these people to say, yes, I'm ready to move forward. So call to actions and answering questions, those are two things that I see a lot of websites miss out on when it came time for them to build it with someone else.
So we should all go back and look at our websites and ask if, we are actually, have the right things in place to sell something.
Mm-hmm.
Are we really asking people to engage with us? Are we getting their contact info? Are we asking them to spend money with us?
Mm-hmm.
And giving them a reason to do it? We've got a couple of minutes left. Where would you like to go with this? Liz, what?
I'm just curious. Do you, either one of you guys, both of you guys, have any last things? Most of the people that are going to be watching our show here, they're going to be watching over a course of time too, are going to be companies that are, up to maybe $2.5, $3 million, $4 million businesses. So not these big, huge businesses that you're dealing with, Jonathan, a little bit smaller type businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any last minute advice about leading the people that we tend to have to lead?
Well, I would say that a $2 to $4 million business is a very nice place to be at. On the other side of that, at least from my experience, and I've done 3 businesses past 10 million, and my experience has been that that's still a pretty challenging place. And I don't know how it is for everybody else, but I found in all 3 businesses that past 5 million, things really started to get better. And not saying that a $2 to $4 million business is a problem business or not a good business, but the thing that I would, maybe I could give a couple of thoughts here. One thing that I'd really say is that for those businesses, you're getting so close to a place where you can afford more and more leaders in the organization, or higher level leaders. And it just really starts to make, frankly, it makes business more fun, because now you continue to work with individuals that they can just run with the ball and they can just take care of things. And you don't need to know about what's going on this part of the business on a daily basis. You can talk about it in once a quarter. You can talk about it once a month. You can talk about it in your weekly one-on-ones, and they can just run with the ball. And so first, I would encourage those that are at this place where, you're maybe a $1 to $4 million, $1 to $3 million business, whatever that is, that you're so dang close. Just keep your foot on the gas pedal and go, because it just keeps getting better and better. And then the last thing I'd say is related to that. It's all about people. It's so easy to think that, I was very, very influenced by some marketing individuals that I learned so much about marketing, and I became very passionate about marketing. I still love it to this day. And all those gurus, all of them, if you call them a guru, I don't really love that name, but they all are about marketing, or they're about sales. And a lot of them were about not building businesses with very many team members. And they didn't want that. And it's really easy to get excited about and focused on just marketing or just sales or just this thing. But the entire game of business is actually about people. I can go find somebody to run marketing. I can find somebody to help me run my Google AdWords campaigns. What most people can't do is build a team a great team, build a culture, and care for those individuals and cast a vision on where we're going and show up every day and be an example. That's what is the real skill set, in my opinion. And that is the number one thing you want to cultivate, because that's the real game of business. Everything else can be hired, but it's very difficult to go find really incredible leaders that can build really incredible teams around them. And so spend all your time and energy doing that and getting really good at it. At the end of the day, it's the same thing Riley said about marketing. In terms of caring for and developing a team, if you really truly care about people and you really want to have them have a better life, and you invest in them, they're going to want to work with you. If you do right by them and you don't try to optimize every dollar for you, and you don't try to make yourself look like, and I know this is not what most people do, but you're the one with all the ideas. If you like truly invest in individuals and you help them, and you know that one day they're not going to be at your organization, and that's okay, because they're going to grow and they're going to move on to their next thing in life, that's fine. But while they were with you, they learned a lot, they grew a lot, they contributed, they were an investment that helped grow your organization. That's phenomenal. And that's what your job is. That is what your job is, to develop people, care for them, have conversations with them, help improve their life, both in business and personally, and they'll stick with you. And that's how I think you build an awesome company. And that's the entire game. So, and anybody that's at 2 to 3, 4 million, you're living that now, and you're on the cusp of it. So it's an exciting place to be. So, Riley?
Well, I don't necessarily have anything specific, since I have yet to get to that point. If I could ask a question, and going back to maybe what we were talking about when it came to the Ian example, and this could help some people, but this is also something I'm curious about. When it comes to having somebody who is showing that they don't necessarily, they're not interested in their position, maybe they're struggling in a position, is it okay to move people in or put people in different positions within the company? Maybe they've already kind of shown that they don't like that position. Can you move them, or have they already caused maybe some trouble inside and it's not beneficial to keep them along? Is there another option to just hiring them outright, or can you just move them?
The ideal is if I found somebody that's just a great person, that is a culture fit inside an organization, that is, that lives the values of the business, basically simply said what we believe as an organization. I don't want to lose them. And so if I could move them to another position that I believe that they could excel, absolutely. The only reason why you wouldn't do that is if in their dislike for the position they've been in, they've exhibited any behaviors that are just not the kind of characteristics that you want inside the organization, or they've caused trouble in some way that's just not, that of what a really high quality individual would do. But outside of that, if I can move them somewhere else, that's exactly what I want to do, because it's so hard to find awesome people. And if you find them, you want to get them in the right seat, working on the right problems, and you don't want to lose them. So yeah, absolutely. What you don't want to do is you just don't want to move. What we all are at risk of is we don't want to have the hard conversation and move somebody outside the organization, because we don't want to hurt their feelings. They've got a family, whatever the case. It's just terrible. It's the worst part of business. And so sometimes we compromise, we tell ourselves a story, and we move people to avoid dealing with the problem. That's the caution. But if you're not doing that, then yeah, wonderful. Move them if you can.
All right. Well, I know we do have to wrap things up, but yeah. I feel like this was the perfect call to end this month on. I feel like everything was awesome on this call. Good. It really was. And one last thing I want to say to everybody that is in the strategic success groups, y'all heard that. You heard what Jonathan said. Y'all's goals are now up to 5 million. I don't care what you thought you were going for now. 5 million, that's the goal.
It's an awesome business, awesome number. So
yeah, nice.
We are at the top of the hour, and I see a couple people popping in here saying, gee, you guys started early. Hey, Denise, sorry, we just tried something different. We're going to be back Wednesday at our normal time, 5 o'clock Eastern. And if you're just hopping on, wondering why we're hopping off, well, you can still watch the whole live stream the way most people do anyway. And come back Wednesday and ask questions. Jonathan, Riley, you guys are great.
Thank you.
Shared a lot of useful information.
I think
this is the first time either one of you have been on Smart Business Moves, I
Yes.
believe, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or at least me. I can't speak for Riley.
I've not
Yeah,
been on this
we're
one
I
yet.
staffing it
believe
too.
so. You know, I
Yeah.
hope it. I certainly hope it's not the last. This was very good and very much
Happy to
appreciated.
do it again. Thank
Yeah.
you both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
Enjoyed it. All right.
Well,
See
you
you
guys
later.
Appreciate it.
take
Yeah.
Talk to you
care.
later.
We'll be back Wednesday 5. Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
y'all.